This Shedeur Sanders thing is weird. I mean, it makes sense in a football sense, but it's also kind of racist. Anyway, let's talk about it. So, I don't really know when this video is going to be posted, but over this past weekend, we had Shedeur Sanders, who was a top 5 consensus by some people, possibly top 25 consensus, drop all the way to the 5th round. In that 5th round, he was taken by the Cleveland Browns, where he's going to have a chance to start, and that's great for him. But we all just feel icky afterwards, don't we? You know? This topic is interesting to me because there's two people inside of me. There's two aspects of me that want to talk about this topic. So, and I'm coming to two different conclusions with both. There's the football guy inside of me that's like, yeah, it makes sense, right? And then there's the black man who's also half Puerto Rican inside of me who also is like, I don't like this. You know, I don't like this. I don't like it, right? So I'm gonna talk from both of those angles in this video. I'm gonna talk from both. So let's start with the football sense. In a football sense, Shedeur is not a first round pick. He's not a first round pick. As consensus, he was around like 22, 25. But in my own personal evaluations, which I do my own draft evaluations, he was a firmly like a early to mid second round pick for me. So him dropping out of the first round made sense to me. I never thought he was a first round pick. Didn't bother me. Him dropping out of the second round. Okay. Like, you know, that's still understandable, you know. Him dropping out of the third round and getting picked and getting Dylan Gabriel picked over him, that's when it started feeling racist. That's when it started feeling racist for me. That's when it started feeling like an issue for me. But I think in a football sense, we all know that the draft process, a big part of the draft process is the interviews, is standing there and selling yourself to these teams. And when you're a quarterback, you're more than just a player out there. You're the politician of the team. You're not just the guy that goes out there and plays. You're the guy that's going to represent and be the face of a team for hopefully, which most teams are hoping, for at least 10 years. So you got to really fit the bill as far as being the perfect person, being the perfect candidate, being all of these things that come into fruition. And through the entire process, from everything we've heard as far as stories, from everything we've seen out of his camp, out of Shedeur Sanders' camp, out of his PR team, out of his father's team, they did not set him up well for that aspect of the draft. That aspect of the draft of selling yourself and being that person that they want to say, here's the ball, go stand behind that center, go run our offense. They did not do a good job setting him up for that. And for that, I feel like you have to put a lot of that on his PR team. You have to put a lot of that on him. He clearly thought he was a first round pick, whereas I feel like a lot of people around the league did not look at him as such. And even some people in the media were like, yeah, I can see him in the first round, but I don't see him any earlier than 20th or 21st to the Steelers. But I thought that never made sense anyway, him going to the Steelers, simply because the Steelers had just did the same thing in a very QB-like draft, similar to this year, 2 years ago with Kenny Pickett, and that went completely to crap. And they just, why would they do that again? So that was just kind of how I was feeling on it. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought he would go drop into the second round. So judging off of what we've heard from him, the fact that he was rude in interviews, he was disrespectful in interviews, he came in arrogant, he wasn't prepared for installs. He got, there's a rumor out there that he got into a verbal altercation with a coach, and the rumor is that it was actually Brian Dable, who was the Giants, who they were considering him. There's also a rumor out there that he was actually number one on their board, and they took him completely off because of that interview. We don't know exactly what's true. We don't know exactly what happened. But we all kind of knew that Shedeur wasn't fitting into the typical aspect of what they expect from quarterbacks in that draft process. We knew that from the beginning. We talked about that. We had conversations about it when he threw his O-line under the bus during a Nebraska game earlier in the year where he was clearly playing like crap, but also his O-line was bad, to be fair, but he did throw them under the bus.
I mean, how many times did Riley get touched?
You said what?
How many times did Riley get touched?
We knew that there was going to be some sort of contention there. We always talked about that. But it seems to me him falling all the way to the 5th round seems like an overcorrection of that. Which in terms in this league that is, not to take it there, but this is the truth. This is a white man's league. This is run by white men. This is owned by white men. The GMs, the coaches, for the most part, are white men. You have your few like Andrew Berry and Mike Tomlin who are black. But for the most part, it's mainly white men who are in charge making decisions. And when you're a young black man, whether you're poor or rich, it's very easy to make those white men uncomfortable. It's very easy. So now I'm going to talk from the black man inside me. And that person looks at this and sees a young black man who, from all intents and purposes, he might be a jerk. He kind of feels a little bit like he might be I don't know him personally, so I can't fully say, oh yeah, this guy's a jerk, this guy's a bad person. I don't know. All I know is that when I see him on screen, when I see him on TV, he does seem to give me like, man, you are annoying. But it's not hard to make white men feel that way, even more so, especially in an all-white space. It's not hard to make them feel as if they are small. Like I actually saw a quote from some of the anonymous GMs and executives that came out and talked about him. There was a quote that specifically said, he makes you feel small, which I'm going to speak from the football sense from that one. How you feel small as an adult man. You're a GM, you're an executive. You shouldn't feel, no one should make you feel small, period. That feels like a you problem less than a Shedeur problem. But also, I can understand how a football executive might be like, I don't want that for our other players. If he made me feel small, think about what he's going to do to our players. But then the black man inside me is also like, you feel small because you're white. Like, you feel small because this young black kid is coming in with a lot of confidence, with a lot of cockiness, with a lot of attitude, even arrogance, possibly, because it's definitely there. And that makes you uncomfortable. Doesn't mean, this is not me saying what Shedeur was doing was right or anything, or how he was moving was right, but it was very clear that they were uncomfortable with that aspect of him. And in turn, I think that that's where the racism comes into play. I don't think it's conscious. I don't think this time, this isn't a Colin Kaepernick, Brian Flores thing where they're really colluding to get this guy. This feels just like a collective, unconscious, racist brain fart by the NFL. You know what I mean? Where it's just like they just saw a young black man who was cocky, arrogant, and rich, which you're already going to dislike him because he's rich and arrogant. A lot of people who got it out the mud, which a lot of these GMs did. They come from more poorer backgrounds. Not all of them are rich guys who got there through daddy's money. A lot of them really worked their butts off to get to where they're at. You might see the kid and already be uncomfortable with the fact that he's rich, whether he's black or not. And then him also being black and arrogant and all these things on that brings out that unconscious racist man that all of us as Americans have in us. All of it. That includes black people too. We all struggle with the white supremacist rhetoric that is fed into our brains every day by media and social media and all of that stuff. So it's easy for a white man to just be in a room with an arrogant person, and if they're black, to be extremely uncomfortable. And I know a lot of people would say, well, he was a jerk, he was doing all these different things, but there have been players who have been that way, who have been rich, who have been arrogant, who played the position, who've actually been drafted high. Perfect example, Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen in the Lamar Jackson draft, Lamar Jackson, I think it was Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen draft. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was that. He was drafted at 10. And he was known already as being brash, arrogant. He was a rich boy. His father, I think, worked in oil or something like that. He was a rich kid. He came in. He was arrogant. He was rude. A lot of the stories we heard was that he wasn't listening to direction in the interviews. It's the same stuff. And he got taken 10th. You know what I mean? He got taken 10th by the Cardinals, who the Cardinals then specifically took Kyler Murray at number 1 the next year because they immediately realized this guy ain't it, right? It's very obvious. I don't want to sit here and make it, it's all about racism, but it is very obvious. Rude white boy who is rich, he gets to get drafted 10th at least. Rude black kid who is rich and pretty much the same comparable as far as talent, he gets drafted in the 5th. There's clearly a pattern here. Doesn't mean that I think any of these people actively made this decision to be rude or to be racist to him. But I do think there is an unconscious, subconscious moment that happened here where the league kind of collectively wanted to humble this kid. Either for for some of them good reasons, right? There are good reasons why he deserved to be humbled. But there are also unconscious reasons that I think came up through this scenario. I don't really, to be honest, even after all of this stuff, though, the truth is that Shedeur now has an opportunity, right? He has an opportunity to prove everybody wrong, to do all these things he needs to do. The only problem I have with it is did we have to collectively humble him to give him this opportunity? Did we have to do that as a society online, as an NFL group? Did we have to do all of that, whether it was unconscious or subconscious or not? Why couldn't we just draft him based on his talent and figure out the rest? They've done it before for other players who are not black. Why couldn't they do it for him? I guess that's just my opinion on the whole thing. I'm gonna let other people who are more smarter than me get into the details of systematic racism and all these other things. But that's just my opinion on the matter. If you like my opinion, like the video, comment whenever you want. If you disagree with me, comment what you want. But make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and see you soon in the next video. Thanks.